coming to you live from 150 miles from the Arctic Circle.
And Los Angeles, California. You son of a... I'm glad no one's sitting here on this.
Yes, we're very glad that nobody can see that countdown to live, but that's we use it to our advantage.
Yes, the reason that I'm smiling and laughing at the end of it is because he said something that's totally inappropriate. Very
Always.
Saturday Night Live.
Alrighty then. Today we wanted to talk about right to market.
We probably
have...
want to pause just a minute and let people catch up with us, unless
we got nobody because I told them 8 a.m. and it is now 7:27 a.m. Alaska time, 11:27 East Coast time, and people are joining in. Thank you for joining us. Peace, yes, fellow humans.
So we're both on cell phone today, so we should have lots of fun with the internet. It'll be great.
Oh yeah. This the opportunity of chance for self-destruction is high. I have my new computer, thanks to Michael Anderle, because he likes Macs for some ungodly reason, and sold me his cast off, which you buy a top end computer and then cast it off. I cleaned off the dust.
Yeah, well, okay, but for me, I do a lot of video work, and so when I didn't realize that the new upgraded greatness, had better video stuff. So the one that you have is just not quite good enough.
Yeah, and I do no video, so it's a beautiful computer for me, and I can see that I can have my window open, and it's not washing out the whole screen like my other computer, my 5-year-old computer. And I realized how slow that one was when I spooled up Acrobat Pro on it because I have the license for that on the other computer, and it took me 20 minutes when all I wanted to do was add in the ISBN. Because I had the PDF file, and once I was publishing on Amazon, I'm like, oh, hey, there's my ISBN. Let me put it on. Yeah, 25 minutes later, and you know what happened? The bastard didn't even save the file. I saved it back to the thumb drive. Everything was good. Shut down the computer, put it on, and the fucker wasn't there. So, yeah, so it's sitting here unloved, while the new computer is rocking and rolling and enjoying videoing us.
That's right.
Before it crashes and I get kicked out, of course.
Well, let's see it, because if you do get kicked out and I don't, then we are going to have a Windows versus a Mac thing where the Windows is obviously not working well.
We very well could. So today, since we have 38 viewers now, thank you for coming on board. And also, when you're watching this on YouTube, this is us talking to nobody. We're just a video, and you can watch it at your leisure without interaction. And all is well. We're going to talk about right to market today, and our experience, and maybe some tips and hints that can help you out.
So what do you think is first? How is that? Oh, that's my alarm to make sure I get up so we talk at the appropriate time, which is now early. What the hell? Oh, anyway. So one of the biggest complaints that you hear about right to market is, do you know?
The biggest complaints. I actually I look for the positives, so I don't really, that doesn't register as a question. I nothing comes to mind for me.
So the biggest complaint is you're making me write something I don't want to write.
Oh, okay.
It's like, I can't do this. I can't write this. I can't write that. I can't write to market. And it was like, I'm fine, but you usually can't associate right to market or not writing to market and making money. So let's just be clear up front. When you ask two different opinions about how to accomplish something, they're usually not going to fit together. So the purpose of the concept of right to market is that you're writing something that you want to write that also will make money. So let's kind of point that out and just say at the beginning that if you write esoteric stuff about Aborigines in a country no one's ever heard about, related to things no one really cares because there's nothing. So we see his little Venn diagram. Very, very Venn. You could put more overlap in between the circles to make it look like there's more opportunity here. There we go. Anyway, the idea is that in right to market is, what is it that you love to write about, or you like to write about, or you're willing to write about, as well as things that people want to read about. And when you match those two of them, then you have an area where you can make some income. Remember, this is about the group 20 books to 50K, not 20 books to I just lost 5K. So we're
Yeah.
focusing on ideas and concepts and strategies to help give you the best chance of positive cash flow.
And that's it. We're talking about how you sell books, and you find something that you like to write, and you can always have your magnum opus, the one thing you really want to write, and understand that maybe it won't sell because it's so niche, or it's so dark, or it's so something that may not make it readily marketable. You can always write that, but if you're looking to make an income and make a revenue, and who knows, that one could, you never know. But for
Mine did.
consistency's sake, series is one thing that we always say will be your best chance. Probably your best chance to make money is a series, and keep rolling. Develop that readership. Sell 10 books to one reader as opposed to trying to sell 10 books to 10 or one book to 10 different readers.
Yeah.
So the right to market, you find that sweet spot, something you like to write, as well as a niche that's hot. So how do you identify a hot niche?
You call up K-Lytics and ask them personally. And, and if you can't, and I cannot, then there are certainly different ways to do it. But you can, if you at the basic level, you can go into the Amazon Top 100 charts and take a look at what is selling there. You go through multiple genres, of which you'll find out that some people are cheating and sticking something off genre in a genre. But just, for that, you can look at the top 100 charts. While I was a little bit facetious about calling up Alex over at K-Lytics, they do have a great property, but there's also another. What's the other application that'll help you? There's one more that'll kind of tell you what the hot genres are.
You can do if you're creative with your search words on stuff you like, you could use Publisher Rocket, and that can tell you some opportunities in regards to what's selling or how often a word is searched, or a book is looked for, or a book is looked at, or what a book could make in a month. But you have to gauge that based on the author. Is the author well known? Because I saw the latest Patterson book had like a 3.5-star rating, but it was number 3 or 2 in its main genre with 3.5 stars.
And don't take what you hear out there to be gospel. When I put out Arthurian Gambit, you could have heard a pin drop about how bad vampires aren't selling, vampires aren't doing this, vampires aren't doing that, and then you could make it even worse by putting aliens with vampires, and then you could suffer all the way to the bank for 2 years about vampires in space and people being derogatory to the fact that you're now doing this. So don't expect necessarily people to like the genre you create. The question is only, are your fans liking it? Are they asking for more of it? And are you are you making the money from it? And if you are, then, ignore the other people.
Yeah, I'm market saturation. It goes to that, because sometimes you see and say, well, that there's way too many books in that market. But what you said before we even came online was that there's always room for a good story.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a rant. So take this one with what you will, because there's a little bit of emotion behind this one. And that is, market saturation is bullshit. Here's my opinion about that. If there's a large enough market, then there's a lot of good things that you can put into it. But generally what happens, especially with fast writers, some of which aren't really good writers, they jump from hot market to hot market and they throw crap into it. It's not that the readers aren't willing to read, but in the beginning you see something that really captures the imagination. That book starts the craze. And then once that happens, the really fast writers, of which I would say at least half of them suck horribly, are going to pummel, and you're going to see things on the charts. People aren't going toward those other books because they want to. It's the only thing available. So just because the books are on the market, it doesn't mean, go check the reviews, read what they're saying. Are there a bunch of, reviews talking about what they wish were in these books? Do your research, and you can find a great way to bring in a quality book, even into something that seems saturated. and then you can come in there and beat it. It's never too late to go into something. Right now I would hazard a guess that the billionaire romance, and I'm probably going to get pummeled by the inaccuracy of this statement, but the billionaire romance is old news, right? But if you come in there and just maybe the term billionaire romance is overused because it's an easy keyword, but if you come in there with what really captured the imagination, that hit the dopamine hits for readers of romance in their brains for billionaire romance, you're going to find some people who want it. So don't give up because people say, "Oh, that's saturated." Great. That might just mean that there's a bunch of crap books in there. Go research it.
Yeah, and it just means there's oversaturation just means there's a lot of readers in that market, and they may be growing more selective, and that's an opportunity for good books. And that's one thing we always tell people is write a good story. It always starts with a good story. Barry Hutchison will tell you that with his bootstrapping. You have to have a good story first, and then you look at the blurb, the cover, and all that stuff to market and sell it, and get the readers hooked and remaining on board. But the good story first. So do your research. Don't jump into a market. I saw a lot of people say, "Oh my God, reverse harem! Look at that taken off," and it did, and it made people a lot of money quickly at the end of last year as it was getting really hot. And I saw people jump in. Oh, hey, reverse harem is hot. I'm jumping in. They did no research and they jumped in with a book that they thought was reverse harem. I mean, we don't bounce across the bone forest and write the winning novel. So those books, sorry, man, those those weren't reverse harem. You had to do your research. You had to know the market, and the people who did and then wrote those good stories resonated well with the readers, brought in new readership, built a nice foundation of readers. And readers can always read faster than we can write. So then they shared, and you had a group of authors then do well and reach a new level of success. Now, replicating that, because at what point does reverse harem kind of drop off? I don't know. Has it yet? I don't think so. But it's just you're going to find something. What's the next one? And I will never tell anybody the reverse velociraptor genre that I'm in because I own that. I own that Amish cyberpunk as well. You guys can all be barking up that tree, and you'll see me at the top, like a monkey, afraid.
Huh. Does this have anything to do with Arctic freezes and all this other stuff and that other pin
It's
name of
24
yours?
hours of daylight. It messes with your brain. You have it's 24 hours of daylight every day. Every day.
So
There's
writing
no
the
night.
market.
So writing the market. So you find a niche, but it's not just jump the niche. You got to do your research. And I didn't jump. I like post-apocalyptic. I've read a lot of post-apocalyptic, so I wrote those. I wrote those first, and still coming to this day, my latest post-apoc did really well. So there's always the stalwart niches, especially if that's where you've established your readership. So I like writing those. I like reading those, and I found a bunch of people who do as well. So that's my readership. So changing a recent experiment, I tried cozies. I thought I knew what cozies were. I did not, and that experiment failed miserably. Miserably. I mean, the latest book made $10. Of a 9-book series, the 8th book made $10. I'm kidding you not. Craig Martelle, right? Oh my God, the guy makes a lot of money. Yeah, I do, but not on that book. I didn't. $10. So it cost a little bit more than that for the artwork, the cover, and the writing and the editing and everything else associated with not being $10. So, but do your research. They're good stories, but they're not cozy mystery stories. So how do we take that, flex it, repackage it to probably maybe even include new titles? It could be a new series name, new titles, definitely new covers, possibly the same blurbs because the blurb is okay, but we didn't get the people there. Too many people equated it with middle grade. It's not middle grade. It's adult that reads. So it's clean adult, which I also use erroneously in a synonym with YA, young adult, because young adult is clean language, no sex, that kind of thing. And that's
Not
It's different.
necessarily true.
It's different. So that's right to market. These books are written well, but with the
They're not
wrong
marketed
market
well.
in mind.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's an interesting thing. So never give up on what you think that if you failed. If it's getting good reviews, consider repackaging it, going into another location. So that is an example of, even then on your Venn diagram, which you've now erased, but in your Venn diagram about what you wanted to write and what people wanted to read, you had grabbed the wrong what they wanted to read. You marketed to the wrong group. So even though the
Yes.
book has potential, you didn't reach the people who would have read it.
Yeah, the stories are good now, and that's from those. And my beta readers all read it and loved them and said, "Oh my God, this isn't what I expected. They're great." But my beta readers, they would never have picked up a book with that cover if it wasn't me asking them, "Hey, can you read this?" and look for typos and that kind of stuff. And they loved it, shared it with their families. Hey, one guy's wife said, "Hey, she wants to read the books. Can I share it with her?" Oh, absolutely. But it's different. So can I hit where I need to go? Easily. I've got great stories. There's a value to your backlist. Even your backlist that you say, this isn't good. My very first book. Hey, it's not my best. It's not my best writing, but people love the story. So it will always be there. You'll always be able to market it. And you know what? Readers are far more forgiving than we give them credit for. Especially somebody jumps on board with my books now. If they go back and say, "Hey, let me read some of your other books. I like your style." They find that first book, they like it, but they accept, "Hey, the writing isn't as mature as you write now, but I like the story." So your backlist will always have value, and that's why we would always tell people, keep writing, keep writing. Backlist is value.
So let's go back to the writing to market and the individual who he didn't coin the phrase, but he made the phrase reverberate through the indie sphere a couple of years ago, and then he totally screwed any science fiction with a drunken captain and spaceship ass. And we are only talking about the man, Chris Fox.
Indeed, indeed. Oh, there were the authors who were in that genre got kind of pissed because a lot of people dove in, and the people who dove in wrote damn good stories, put damn good covers on. Tom Edwards covers. The reason I have Tom Edwards covers is because of the other folks who jumped in writing to market that military science fiction market, and so it got flooded with a lot of great stories. But you know what? It's still a lucrative genre. It's just if you weren't writing great stories and you're still selling, and now you're not selling, uh, you might need to up your game. And that's one thing that competition provides is if you're not always looking to get better, if you just want to sit at the top of the pyramid and stay there, well, you're going to find people are trying to knock you off, and not a competition. I say the rising tide lifts all boats. But if you're just up on top looking down on people, you're not going to get very far. But if you keep looking up, like Michael's challenge is to get ahead of J.K. Rowling, which as a perennial number one, that's a good target to have because you're always going to be trying to climb. And she's trying to climb as well. She continues to advertise. Look at this wizarding game. I don't play any games online. I hope that doesn't make me a complete derelict, but it gives me more time in my life. but look at that game. Just started. I saw an advertisement on TV yesterday for it. I'm like, my God, it wasn't big enough because it's all I saw on the internet for the last couple of days was, "Hey, friend me, I'm playing this game," and here it is on TV. No, no, no. You need to get. You didn't play this game. You saw it on the internet, and you didn't jump in. What's wrong with you? So keep trying to climb and writing to market. Urban fantasy. J.K. Rowling started it. How many urban fantasy books are there right now? Witchling Academy. You see a lot of uh, different kinds of books. I know Michael has at least one series that is supernatural in
Oh
school.
yeah, yeah. So we have someone and that was on purpose. Yeah, you'll see Shadow Spell Academy. There's just a lot of Academy stuff, which means probably now those listening will go into Academy. But so I just wanted to mention, we did mention Chris Fox. He does have a book on this subject. It's a very, very good book on writing to market. He has some design or explanations of how he would go about trying to find if a particular genre is open or not. And so just a shout out to Chris and his book, Writing to Market.
I mean, he picked one genre that he knew to then go in depth on how you explore writing to market, but it worked for that premise, and that process worked for a lot of people. So good on Chris. I always enjoy talking with him. He's fun, despite that beard that he maintains for some ungodly reason. It's a beard. Germ infested beards, worse than a toilet seat, is what I read. I read it on the internet. So
It makes it true, right? Yeah, no. Chris, please don't associate me with this rant, this no beard rant.
I do have a beard in the winter because it's so damn cold up here that I got to protect my face. But otherwise, the writing to market. So, which niche do you like? Hey, look at them. K-Lytics. I always recommend Alex Newton and K-Lytics because of his reports. He goes into exactly that, presents it in a chart. Look for those dots that are upper left that say, hey, there's a lot of opportunity here and not a lot of books. You find those, hey, I love that stuff. And you go back and you look, and I'm reading those books that are in that market. So now you've done research, you've got it. Do you have a story in mind? I'm sure you do, because anyone who reads books in a genre thinks about, hey, what if this was different, if these characters did this instead? Well, hey, here's a whole opportunity. Or you run across something in your daily life and say, well, hey, I can make a story out of that, and it'll fit this genre. Go forth and conquer. Write it. If it's not there, you write it, and then see
I'd
where
like
it
to
goes.
talk to Alex sometime and ask him to do, because you and I share a friend, Mike Bray, with Wolfpack Publishing, and Mike has, and you probably do too, has a relationship where you guys can call up Alex. I don't think I've ever personally spoken to him, like on Zoom or Slack or anything, but I would look at and ask him to do some research related to the breadth of the market, not necessarily what's high, but what is still selling, decent and okay at rank 1000. Because,
Mm-hmm.
I want to see something where that pool is very deep. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I can claw my way to the top, if you will. Something that I don't know if it's necessarily accurate, but like Lit RPG became the thing 2 years ago. 2.5 years ago, it was the genre, it was the hot genre. A lot of people jumped into it. A lot of people got slammed in it because they didn't pay attention to the tropes. They didn't understand what was going on, and they thought they could just slap a veneer on top of a fantasy story and call it lit RPG. And then the fans of that genre blasted them. So a lot of people got a little butthurt on that and got kicked back out, if you will. And then, a few more did it, and I stayed out of it for a long time. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand the concept necessarily until I was able to talk to Aileron Kong, and he was gracious enough to take a Zoom call with me, or a Skype call, and I just could ask him the question, what the hell is it exactly? And then he was able to, explain what it was, and then I was like, okay, much better. And so our first, I believe it's, most of our stuff that we put out in the last 3 or 4 months is more game lit, but our first lit RPG with it in the title came out just a couple of days ago. And so we're, quote, 2 years past the prime. And yet we can see what's going on, and our fans enjoy the good stories, and they're accepting the game interface to some degree.
Yeah.
That we put on top of it. But it's never too late to go into it. But lit RPG, isn't it? Some people are going, it's past tense. Wuxia is the next big thing, and so I don't necessarily buy into that. I just think that there's some great stories, great characters, and then whatever we put around it, the dressing, whether that's um, you know, especially since I was at the Western Writers Conference here the last week, whether it's a 6-shooter or a laser pistol,
Yeah.
we're really telling the same thing. We're just putting some different dressing on it, and Lit RPG adds one more bit of dressing to the character and development, and that is that they actually pause and make decisions with certain game mechanics involved, and the readers want that. They're like, oh, you have 3 skill points. I wonder which one they're going to use, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And so, but a lot of people thought Portal Fantasy was lit RPG. It isn't, and stayed out of it for a long time because I didn't understand it well enough, and I didn't want to do what I personally considered a disservice and get everyone upset. So stayed out.
Yeah. Lit RPG is a different one, and that's the readers are very demanding. But the readers, if they like your stuff, then your stuff can take off. And that's if you've written it well, if you've written right in there. So the most popular writers in that market are huge gamers. They game, they know what it's all about, and they put themselves in that situation and then write some great stories. So kudos to them. Lit RPG is to this day still lucrative for the right stories. Those stories that are told in the right way that resonate with the readership. And they're also big stories. So you don't want to write a 130,000 word novel and then have it flop and get demonized by the readership. So yeah, go with what you know to some extent. So improve what you know by reading in the genre and understanding what those tropes are. I know some people have tried some books on talking about tropes and genres, and I don't think there's anything better than just reading the books and do your own analysis of, hey, here's why, and maybe get somebody else's perspective who's also in that genre of what are the real tropes that you have to hit. And the one thing Michael mentioned about lit RPG, that's bullseye. You have to get those characteristics right. What am I going to spend this point on? Am I going to take this skill or this added skill or this secondary skill? Yeah, do you want an 18 constitution or an 18 strength? You can't have both if you're an old D&Der. So what do you do? And that's those decisions and how they go forth. And you have to have a plot, of course. And wuxia, I am digging into wuxia. I bought the big books in the genre, and I'm reading through them. And I think we have a way forward once Metal Legion 8 finishes. But that's also an opportunity and a guess. We're going to do what we can to make it work. 150,000 word books, and go at it like we know what we're doing. Because as I always say, dress for the job you want, not for the job you have. So if you're going to do lit RPG, do it like you belong there. Any book you write it and then put it out there like you belong there. Don't put a book at 99 cents. Say, well, I don't really think I'm worth $4.99. It's a 100,000 word book, but it's I'm not worth it. Bullshit. $4.99. Put it on there. $6.99. Whatever that genre is calling for, and it's not hard. All you do is bring up the top 10, top 20, and just see what the prices are. Somebody will be up there with a 99-cent book, but they're running a promotion. Most of the others will be. You see what James Patterson charges. Don't look at those. That's different. But other people, like normal people, what are they charging for their books? And I see it on Mill Sci-Fi. I'll see the 1 and 2 place will be occupied by 99-cent specials, and then all the rest are $4.99. So it's good seeing mine up in the top numbers there with a $4.99 price tag, and I'm happy to get that. That's a good thing because it profitability 7 to 1. I mean, a book at $4.99 or a book at 99 cents, that's 35%. So.
And how did you get 7 to 1 out of that, out of curiosity? Because 35%, 70%, that's twice. And then you have 99 cents and $5, or $1 and $5 is 5. So I'm thinking it's 10 to 1. Maybe I'm just missing something.
Now on the 99-cent books, you get 35 cents royalty.
Like 35%.
On the I was that calculation is on $2.99. On $2.99 is 7 to 1.
Still be 6.
So if it's $4.99, yeah, you're right. It's much closer to 10 to 1. If you can get a one sale at $4.99 versus one sale at 99 cents. Lawyer math, man.
Okay, everybody in the comments, figure this out because my brain is still kind of blowing. I'm still thinking $2.99 is 6 to 1, $4.99 is 10 to 1, $3.49 would be 7 to 1. So,
on the $4.99 books, because they're longer and they have download fees, you never truly get 70%. You get about 65%.
Oh,
so
boy, are you stretching.
11 to 1, maybe 11.6 to 1. 11.7 to 1. Don't make me break out my calculator.
Yeah, I was like, don't do maths. Don't.
But just understand, you got to sell a hell of a lot more at 99 cents and 35% royalty, a hell of a lot more. And you get with that one sale, especially if you're ranking. The guy.
But you have to talk about Kindle Unlimited and ranking, and the fact that 99 cents gets you up in the rank, which gets you more Kindle Unlimited sales, which, well, that's not this conversation.
because the first opportunity that comes up is read for free.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in Kindle Unlimited, people have a tendency to click that even when it's on sale for free, and that's what
Mm-hmm.
you're counting on. That people see it on sale for free. It's free, but then click Kindle Unlimited, read for free, which is different. If they buy it for free, you get nothing, except hopefully read through.
Mm-hmm.
If they read for free, well, then now you're getting the page read. So you're going to get a page read bump on your free
Yeah.
book if you're in Kindle Unlimited. And if you're on my backlist, I'm 50-50 right now. I'm 50% page reads and 50%
Oh, on your backlist, not your front
sales
list?
on my stuff on my side as opposed to the LMBPN side. LMBPN side, I
Hmm.
think I'm still cooking 2-to-1 KU
Yeah, we're
to
about 66. I mean, it's pretty heavy. We're
yeah
very Kindle Unlimited, but we're a very high velocity publishing company.
yeah
So those, I started with those fans that read a lot. And those fans like myself at the time who read a lot, I mean, we're all in Kindle Unlimited. We're just like, yeah, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me.
yep.
So, we are really toward the high side.
And that's marketing to whale readers. That's your readership. That's your target, and that's where all of your ad spend goes to people who read what 3 to 5 books a week or more.
Yeah, well, yes, our goal was I technically defined it as someone who reads at least a book a week. So 52 books a year, 50 books a year.
Okay.
But honestly, it really is a situation where you have anyone that's more than that. Now we just go to size. Plesiosaurus whale reader. Do we go? I mean, we could just orca whale reader.
Yeah, yeah,
What's the beluga whale reader? We could go
yeah.
through all the different narwhal. Ooh,
Do you want a blue
narwhal. We don't
whale
do blue
reader
whale.
or do you want a
Yeah,
bottlenose? Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So
So
but go ahead.
the writing to market, and there are certain genres where whale readers there are more whale readers, and that was the vampire. I mean, Michael and I will both say that we write pulp fiction, we write escape fiction, we write books that people can read, get emotionally engaged with, and keep reading through. It's not a Dan Brown where you've got that twist and turn and you've got that one-off change at the end, and oh my god, and once you learn it, it kind of ruins the rest of the novel, where you might not go back and read it. In Michael's books, the huge win of the Cartharian Gambit series was the reread rate. How many people go back and said, when a new book comes out, I start at the beginning and read all of them again, and I see something new every time. And that's when you have velocity of action and a rapid flow of the plot. You can get that reread. And
And the characters. Technically, the characters they want to be there and visit them again.
yeah, get that high that they got the first time when they enjoyed watching the characters doing what they were doing. That's Motel 8. That was they stopped doing surveys and they said, we just, is this your first time here? And if somebody said, no, it's my second time, well, then, hey, that's all they were looking for. They wanted people to come back. That was their sole measure of success. Did people come back and stay at a Motel 8 again after staying at one before? So reread. If people are rereading your books, then you gave them a high that they want to recreate, and that they
Mm-hmm.
and then that says this is a good book. This is a book that will relate to readers.
Yes, absolutely. And the best person to understand this is you. So if you look at it through the books that you love to reread, you love a lot, go back and look at those and read them in such a way, but disconnect a part of your brain to where you're actually asking yourself, I love this scene. Okay, why? Why do you
Mm-hmm.
love this scene? Take it apart, understand the dopamine hit that's occurring. Now replicate that dopamine hit in your books so that you are the best person to check whether or not someone's going to want to read your books. Did that make sense? I think that makes sense.
It does, and for you, I think one thing you found with Cartharian Gambit was the werewolf and the paranormal kind of elements. Even though you related them back to science fiction, the paranormal elements were what resonated with the readership. And where did you spend the most of your marketing money on? Was it on science fiction readers or was it on like urban fantasy readers?
In the beginning, it was toward vampire, quite frankly, because I felt that I could focus and say this is a vampire novel more easily. And but the short answer is, I was up to six figures a year, or excuse me, 6 figures a month in income with only about a 3 to 4% ad spend. And that was because the series itself had garnered so much support from the fans, talking about it to other fans and everything else. They were a part of it that I didn't need to, So it wasn't until we really expanded out massively that ad spend is now up there, and ad spend for our company is probably still in the 10%, 13% range, just across all avenues, maybe a touch more depending on what's going on. But we've got well over 500 titles,
Yeah.
so kind of hard to keep all those plates spinning in the air.
Yes, and that's when I harp on genre, like Edinburgh, the conference there, and I say, hey, here's the genres, pick one. It's for marketing purposes. Understand who your target audience is for marketing. We all write mashups. Nobody writes purely in one genre. Even Western authors now, you find that they're doing a little bit different and crossovers. But that doesn't mean, oh, hey, I want to find the Western science fiction paranormal group. You're your own group. But where are you going to find the most readers? And that's what the genre, that's what you find. Because the other folks in that genre are looking for those readers too. And talking with them will help you, let's say, narrow your scope, narrow your focus of targeting. Because targeting is the key to all marketing. Because if you can't target the right readers, you can spend an awful lot of money and you're not going to sell any books. But if you can target those readers, that's where you're going to make your money.
And the Logan was what was Logan? Something. Anyway, he was a superhero. He was a couple of years ago. They were having a conversation. He said, you write to multiple genres, but you market to one.
Yeah.
Don't confuse the cover with multiple genres. Only go with a cover that speaks to a single genre and market to one.
Great advice. And that's writing to market. You can write, I think any market is going to be okay, as long as there are sales in that niche. And then you find out, what do people want to read within that niche? And then you give them that different, but the same. So you've got to give them enough of the tropes that if you're targeting that market or targeting that subgenre, whatever it might be. But understand, if you're writing to Regency romance, I know that is very, very specific. Pride and Prejudice, right? So how do you market there? It's a very small group of readers, very being relative. But those books, you see, you can charge a lot more. So an ebook, a 50,000, 60,000 word ebook is $9.99, and the readers will pick it up because it's not a heavily populated market. So there's a top end, but you can still make good money if you're producing at a rate that the readers can get into.
I'm trying to pull up the book report, kind of the history, because LMBPN is getting very close to something I think is, for us, a very cool number, and that is a billion with a B,
Saw that up.
KENP pages. So
Yeah,
I'm trying to pull it up.
When you said that, I pulled up mine, and I was at 83 million page reads, man.
Excellent. That's something to celebrate, though.
Yeah,
I don't know that how many of us really think of it from that perspective, but 83 million page reads. Obviously, a portion of my billion is actually your book. So,
some of
the
mine,
company.
a little bit.
We just also went over a new 7-figure number here. We are at 990 million and 8,857 right now.
You need 10 million
more
page
million.
reads.
Yeah, so probably about 8 days, something like that.
Yeah, I was going to say it's about 10 more days. The first week in July. Nice.
So, that'll be fun. So,
yeah.
Something to share about, something to talk about. I guess I could do it like.
It's to celebrate. We celebrate every success. I mean, I remember hitting my first 10,000 page read day, and it was a huge day, and I loved that day. And then I dipped back down. I got back down to 2,000 and 3,000 page read days. It's okay until you have a new release, until you have a backlist, and then it's how early in the day can you hit 10,000 page reads, and then you just track. It's just a different foundation as you're climbing your mountain, and everybody's is different. There are people I love seeing posts that say, "Hey, I sold a book to somebody I don't know." I mean, that is the first big one. You're selling a book that isn't to your dad, and that's I sold 56 copies of my first book, and I think 53 were to my dad, and the other 3 were to high school classmates. So I'm not sure I sold a single book a single copy of that first book to a stranger. I did give one to an agent, and then of course they bought it, so it's now in an imprint of Simon and Schuster. So a lot of strangers have bought it since. However, when I first published it, it was only people I knew. So I had to wait till the second book to sell to a stranger.
I had a really, Judith and I had a really neat experience. We went to Western Writers of America, their convention. It's the Spur Awards, and it goes on for, let me tell you, one, Western writers in general are older, right? Two, they party like there's no tomorrow, and I can't keep up with them. So I looked at Mike Bray and one time and I said, I don't know, and I might have said other words that would be bleep worthy. How you people do it, I can't keep up with you. I need a nap. So I went up. But one of the things that they do is they have one of those ceremonies where they silent auction and then public auction, where the money is generated to go accomplish something that the group is trying to do. And so they had this, and it was going on. And one of the things I happened to meet is like I happened to meet an honest to God agent, right, where we actually got to know each other and everything. And so what happened is, and she's been in business 42 years. She's known people like Ben Bova, Harry Harrison. They were people who encouraged her to become the agent. So even though they had an agent and they didn't switch because people stayed with the person that you brought to the dance, right? But they encouraged her, and so during this auction, one of the things she auctioned off was a free, well, not free, but she would, without having any, just if you had the certificate, she would read the first 3 chapters of your book, edit it, and give it her review and opinion. And of course, the assumption is that if she really loves it, you had a small chance of going, being represented by an agent and going to trad. Now, that's not my goal necessarily, but I went ahead and bid on it. And by God, you knew that I was going to win this one. It's like, me, someone else would bid me, someone else would bid me. It's like, y'all can keep going, but I'm going home with this certificate. So I have it. So I'm going to use it for someone that's, within the people that I know whose mountain is to be agented. And so, but if you ever want to be agented, well, they do this at the Western Writers, and you can pay money to get it done. I think there were 2 agents. There was one with 5-star. I don't know enough about them to say whether or not it would be beneficial for us, and then Cherry. And so I'm really happy that I have this, and it's something I'm going to, reach out to internal fans and everything else to make happen.
Good deal. That sounds great. But writing to market, I see a question on somebody asked about you think anything's saturated? No, we already answered that one. It's a long conversation.
And the short answer is quality.
Yeah, you write a quality book, you can sell it anywhere. Now, that's with the marketing ads and stuff like that. I mean, if you don't market it, the best book ever is not going to get sold. So that's you have to find it, and you have to know which genre you're going to market to, and that's what the cover needs to be appropriate for.
I think so. There's an underlying question when they ask, is any genre saturated? And the answer is, if you want a really easy way to get in where you don't have to put out a quality product, then yes, there are saturated areas where you can't just slap a cover on. Like in the beginning of Reverse Harem, you put Reverse Harem on there and you put the appropriate girl on the front, and you probably sold books. You didn't have to do anything other than know the keyword and the cover type, and you could sell some books. And then of course it matures, and then it becomes something else.
And that's military sci-fi. Those guys are writing damn good books, and it's a challenge, and you have to continually up your game. I'm curious to know what you think about writing to market, but with a twist. Well, that's what Michael did. That's how he started. Cortharian Gambit is writing to market with a twist. Here's a vampire. Oh, but she's created by aliens. Yeah, it's not a vampire. It's not some supernatural thing. However, you throw in the term vampire for werewolves, and even if they're created with nanocytes, and you still get that market. And that was the market that Michael tapped and then expanded on. It was this with a twist. J.K. Rowling did that with her books, the Harry Potter books. It rejuvenated and built that urban fantasy genre. So yes, of course you can do that. but it has to be a good story. It has to be a great story, great characters, great engagement. The fans, the readers are the final arbiter if you've done it right.
Absolutely.
And that's if you're marketing too. You find the readers, hey, this is going to be UF with a twist. When you find UF readers, if they hate it, well, then it's not UF with a twist. It's twisted something else. You just have to find what that something else was, market to those people, and see what they think.
So a couple of things on the marketing side. Remember that Facebook, you can't market to every author out there. They just don't have the ability to do it. BookBub, you practically can. And one way to figure out who you need to market to is by going to and looking at the also bots of the books that are selling that you are most like. Go to the books, go to the author, look at the also bots. There's your list of names to be able to go market to somewhat similarity. So that helps cut it down. It's not the best way to do it, but it is a better way than most are doing it, which might be just kind of like, throw a dart type of situation. Yes, yes, it is. So that's something else that's going on there. On the market side, it's really kind of interesting because I feel that you can create a market yourself if what you're reading and everything that you're reading and there's something missing. For me, I believe that the missing part was the emotions of my books, not necessarily always all of the characters and everything else, but it was I was gravitating to a certain style of book and a certain emotional scene style. And I didn't care. I didn't want this angsty book. I didn't want where as Justin Sloan helped me understand one time, I didn't want that book where you had some people, they were in a bad problem, and then they got chased around, and all of a sudden they got chased up a tree, and then they had rocks thrown up at the tree at them, and then they set fire to the tree, and then all this crap happens. And at the very end of the book, they get they win. I didn't want that. It's like I had that anxiety in my life. I didn't need to go buy and read books to get that anxiety. I wanted something to where they had a problem, they solved it. They had a problem, they solved it. We were constantly overcoming issues, and you got that ending, that buzz of the ending all through the book. And so that was certainly something that that appealed to me about it. And then, of course, go ahead.
And that's the escape fiction part. People, a lot of people read because real life is kind of rough. And some people have a hard time. And I remember one review, I will never forget this review, that she said, your books are literally keeping me alive. I'm in hospice, and I just can't wait for your next book. So please, can you tell me when it's out? I'm like, oh my God, I'll write it today. I'll write the whole goddamn thing today. So stay alive. I'll give it to you. Damn it. But those kind of things, people are living for that next thrill, and writing a bummer. I did have to kill a price of freedom, right? Okay, a character dies. I mean, okay, that's the price of freedom. The whole book went to that, so it furthered the plot. However, I did lose some readers on that, and people were kind of bummed, like really bummed. But it's sometimes you have to do it. It's just how it is. However, it went against the flavor of all of our books, which is that happy, we end on a high note. Except Michael's 9th book, he did worse to his readership, and that cost him dearly in books, time, editing, covers, life.
Don't kill
feathers,
love interest.
Pepsi, all of it.
So horrible. It's still horrible.
Don't do that.
Yeah, no,
probably.
I had to take probably hashtag probably.
Yep.
An interesting thing that I think about though also at this point is I enjoy explaining that oftentimes we, especially pulp writers, are a drug dealer. It's the dopamine to the brain, and the drug that we push might be horror, it might be military sci-fi, it might be love, it might be angst, it might be any of these things. But understand the drugs that you push and do it well, so that when people come back to you, they understand the drug that they're getting. And yeah, you can flavor it with a couple of other drugs and then create a cocktail that's amazing. High action adventure with some romance. Just understand what you're doing, and if you do it well, you're helping all of us, because people become accustomed to the fact that they can get these drugs, they can get this high by reading books, and then you encourage other people or them to go try other books, and all of us rise up at that point. Because if we can create the chemical dopamine hits in the brain that TV can't, then they will become book readers and not movie or TV watchers.
That's right. Like the first person who wrote the first reverse harem that took off. The first person who wrote that first lit RPG that took off. Those folks created that world that the readers couldn't get enough of.
Mm-hmm.
So if you pioneer and do it well, you'll have your market share if you keep delivering on your reader expectations, whether it's once every 3 months, once a month, once every 6 months, doesn't matter. As long as you set those expectations, the first readers that you established will come back to you because you gave them that first high. Everybody remembers their first kiss. So that's what you're giving them in a way. They're high from this new genre. And make it happen, and then give them another one and another one. And that's a big proponent of series because you're trying to repeat that hit. And that's the Pulp Fiction model is Edgar Rice Burroughs, Tarzan, whether John Carter, Martyrs, all of those books. They delivered and they kept delivering, and they had a certain formula. Each one was different, but still the same. And you had the Barbarian on the cover and doing something profound.
Yeah, awesome stuff there. I think we're done. I think we're probably at the time.
I think we've talked about right to market. It's general principles. We're not going to tell you, hey, this market's hot right now. You need to dive into it and make money. I'm telling you that there's no easy money. There's money that you might make easier than the rest, but it's hard work because you have to do your research. You have to write a story that hits those tropes within that genre. You have to write it different, but the same. You have to come up with a cover that will engage with the one target genre readership, and then you can expand from there, like Michael did with the Kurtherian Gambit. I'm going to target these readers, and then we'll build from there, and we can explore other tendrils. And backlist also, as we advertise, as your backlist grows, your ability to spend a little bit more to get a single reader into your books goes up. Because right now, if I get one reader coming in that reads all my books, that's worth well over $100, whether they read it in KU or not. So how much am I willing to spend to get one new reader that's willing to read all my books? And that's a pretty big number because it pays for itself. So keep writing, find that genre, and then write more in it.
Yeah, go deep once you know what it is. You know, the piece that I've watched, you know, I consider 2015, early 2016 to be like my freshman year. And so there were other authors who came out during the same time I did in the indie sphere, and I consider us kind of like the freshman class. And I've seen many of them did not reach the same heights of success because they squirreled. They would write one or two, it was doing really well, but then they just they had to go lost the one, and they were never able to capture it back to the same level. And you know, I was already 49, I think, at the time when I was going through this, and so I recognized that I had something that was unique. It was a bunking bronco. I had to stay on it, and it didn't matter if I wanted to go write something else. If I wanted the success, which is my mountain, people who wanted to reread my stories, and so I knew what my mountain was. It wasn't to pleasure myself by going off to this other until I'd finished 21 books. Then I went off and did Brownstone and did other things. So, you know, so there you go. Price of income for me was to stay on target.
And like Hugh Howey, he wrote a bunch of standalones till he found one that sold well, and then he went deep in that and wrote a series. Somebody asked about Wuxia's taking off. Go to wuxiaworld.com and take a look and see what they're doing. A lot of stuff there.
W-U-X-I-A, Wuxia. We were, Judith and I were talking with a Chinese representative at Book Expo America in New York a few weeks ago. And even now, I mean, she pronounced it. Now, mind you, she also spoke very softly, but it's like Wuxia, something like that. It's not Wuxia, definitely not Wuxia. Just saying.
Yeah. But wuxiaworld.com. Check that out and see what they're doing over there. It's not marketing, but it's wuxia as a whole as far as the genre and that. It's huge market in China, but for English writers as well. So it's there, it's available. You might have to get creative, but it's a genre that we're willing, and we are in China thanks to Michael and Judith going over to the Beijing Book Festival.
Yeah, we'll be doing that second time this year. We'll be there in August.
Cool. All right. Peace, fellow humans. Go forth and conquer. Have a great day.
Talk to y'all later. Bye.